Hey there, everybody. Welcome, welcome. So glad to have you on the live stream today. Hope everybody had a great week. I'm just checking my stream every place, so pardon me while I. Hope everybody had a great week. That is live. Okay. I don't think Facebook is live. I do not know what's going on with Facebook, y'all. It is not. Oh, there it is. Yes, it is. Awesome. Facebook is working this week. We have Twitch and Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. So, I am glad to have you here. Please say hello. Let me know where you are streaming, where you're seeing this. If you're familiar with my live stream, I started teaching myself to paint a little over 6 months ago, and I meet you all here every Saturday night, typically 7 p.m. Central Time, and we paint a different painting, and I figure it out as I go. I learn only through YouTube tutorials or videos, and so that is the premise of the show. Mostly friends and family come hang out with me and some others that I've met along the way. So glad to have you here. If you aren't subscribed on YouTube, that's the best place to find me, and that keeps you informed of of course, every time when I stream. But I also have started producing some short form videos that kind of talk about some of the mindset and the process of actually learning to paint, what I'm finding out along the way as I go. So if that's of interest to you, that's also on YouTube. Hey there, Lola. So glad to have you. I appreciate you joining every week. You have really been here almost from the beginning, so you've really seen my progress and you'll be able someday to say, I remember when he could barely paint anything. So glad to have you. Daniel, so glad to have you here for a few minutes as well. Thanks for popping in. I appreciate it. Always good to see you, even though it's not in person. I look forward to when we can do our normal spring meetups as you pass through on your way to Tennessee. Can't wait till we can do that again. Welcome, welcome, everybody coming in. The new, I see there's some more people popping in. So, again, I paint and chat with you all, and we just kind of go from there. Let me get my cool little schmuck on so I don't get my. Y'all like my school sweatshirt, Arkansas School for Math, Science, and the Arts. That's my dream job. What I do for real work. But definitely don't want to get paint on the sweatshirt. It's one of my favorites. So, hey there, Mom and Dad. So good to have you back on the show. Glad that Facebook is streaming. I wasn't sure if it would. It wasn't doing it the last couple of weeks, but it is this week. So we got it fixed. I wanted to show you all what a few weeks ago we did this painting and we only got part of the way through. I wanted to show you I'm still working on it behind the scenes. I'm adding more detail. You may be able to tell it's a little bit more done. I'm putting in layers of colors and variations, and I'm finding I had the main kind of greens, browns, and the shadow in when we first did the live stream, the first stream of this painting. But what I'm finding is as I go back at different times, it is actually giving me some of that variation that I want in the trees and the shadows. So it's actually going to end up, I think, looking more realistic. But this is still going. This is the Arkansas River here downtown, outside downtown Little Rock, and was a sunset one evening. So I'm excited as I continue to work on that. But I wanted to kind of show you, and I'll keep you updated as that one gets done. We will keep working on it. You may have seen behind me, I am working. Last week we did a hummingbird, and I finished that, and it turned out really nice. It wasn't as perfect as I wanted, but it was pretty good for the skill level where I am. That's one thing I've learned along this process is sometimes it's really valuable. I was just talking with a friend, Max, who streams right before me. He streams. Actually, he's a gamer and does teaching on entrepreneurship. So his stream is totally different than mine. But I'm usually working here, and so I'll watch his stream as I'm getting ready for mine. And one of the things he was talking about is that um, as a creative, when you put out your work, whether you're a writer or a painter or whatever, there's that intimidation of putting your work out there, having it criticized, having it not be perfect, and it that is the challenge, but it's also the essential component of actually progressing and learning is the criticism and the critique and putting it out there and getting feedback. The feedback loop specifically is the process of whether it's building a company in the case of an entrepreneur or in the case of an artist, putting out your work. And so one of the things that I've realized that is valuable is to number one, put it out there like I do. Yes, it's a little terrifying sometimes, especially when it doesn't go the way I want. You guys have seen some of the hot messes I've made over the weeks. And but for most of the time it turns out, or you can fix it, you can get there. The other thing that I have learned is that there's a point to say this is I'm pleased with how this is at my level of capacity, the level I have, the level of my skill, the level of my ability right now. I'm pleased, and to give yourself that feeling of accomplishment, like I did the best I could with the skill I have at this level, and I am pleased with this, knowing that it's not perfect, it's not ideal. There's obviously always going to be people who are better. So, anyway, feeling a little philosophical tonight, I guess. So, we are going to work on this lion photo that since we did the hummingbird several months ago when I started, I did, if those of you who were here at the beginning remember the cross-eyed llama. I did the llama. I haven't done as many animals, but this group I'm in on Facebook that posts photos that artists can use have been posting a lot of animals. So, excuse me, I have been inspired to take this on. So let me put up the photo for you. This will be your reference as we go through. That is what I'm looking at on my screen. You can see I also have it in black and white. This is to help me as I kind of look at it from the standpoint of values. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about the importance of values in addition to color. And so that is something I've started doing, is putting the image in black and white so I can really make sure and train my eye to get the values right. This week, because it's not a landscape, I did sketch a kind of preliminary sketch. One of the tools that I have found that is really valuable is this little thing, and I can't remember what it's called. If anybody knows what it's called, you can let me know. But it was real cheap on Amazon. It's plastic. I think they are originally architect tools, a tool for an architect, but you can get them very expensive metal ones, but they're very sharp, and this one works just fine. What it does is it allows me to train my mind and my eye in sketching. So what I did is I was able to go and, for example, put it up against the image and measure how distant the lion's eyes are. Then I can come over here and make marks. And then I can measure how wide his face is, and I can make marks. And then I can measure how wide his nose is, and I can come over and make marks. And I can measure his jaw, and I can make marks. And then what I did for this drawing or this sketch is see if you see that. So there's very few actual lines here. I just threw in a very little bit of shading, and all of a sudden the image starts to pop off the canvas. So that's what we're going to try to do tonight. But that is something typically when we learn to draw lines shapes and all of this. And so the advantage of using a tool like this is you get the proportions right, and then it's really kind of it's not foolproof, but it makes it a lot easier than if I just tried to freehand the lion, especially until I get good enough to do that. And eventually, you do get to that point. So we are 12 minutes in. Let's jump into the painting. Hey there, Bob G. So glad to have you on the stream as always. Thanks for stopping in. I'm going to put this over my shoulder so y'all can. It is actually chilly in Little Rock today. We have had a pretty tame winter. Actually, this week it's supposed to be almost 80 degrees, I think, on Monday. But tonight it's in the 40s, and last night I think it actually got down in the 30s. So for us, that's pretty cold. And so I'm right by the windows, and I feel a little bit of a draft. So it's a good thing I have a sweatshirt on. And I'm craving chili tonight, but I don't have time to make it after we get off and I don't have all the supplies. So chili maybe tomorrow, and it may just be on a warmer day. All right, let's jump in. The first thing that I want to do is lay in some of these things. Let's see, Daniel, I did something similar at high school art. Made a grid on the original image and a grid on my canvas to keep proportionality. Absolutely. I have seen that technique as well. I'm just kind of, I haven't tried it, haven't done it, but I think that would actually be more accurate. One of the other things that I want to talk about is, and one of the things I'm working with, you can draw the subject, you can draw the viewer into a painting by using light. And this is already composed that way. As you can see, the lion is already, there's kind of that light over that right eye of the lion. So that's what I'm going to try to emphasize in this painting. And this side, I'm going to use a lot of shadow on the right side and put him even more shadow than he is. That's the attempt, at least, to develop that skill. And my goal is that at the end, the face on this side of his face will just jump out and really draw you in. This eye specifically will be kind of the corner or the focal point of the painting. So that's the goal. And I think, to Daniel, your point, I could have, charted this all out and graphed it all out and put him perfectly on the page, but I did not do that. But I think that's helpful if you want to make sure what you have here is exactly the same composition as you have on the canvas. Amy Choi, hello. It's been years. Hard to believe it's been 20 years, isn't it? Since we were in college. This last spring, no, maybe it was fall break. I think it was fall break. I went to Pensacola and stopped by the school. I hadn't been there in 18 years. So that was a blast from the past, but it's good to see you. Thanks so much for popping in. I appreciate it. Annette, hello. Thanks so much for joining the live stream. So those of you that have been here before know that I love to chat while I'm painting, so feel free to ask questions, give suggestions, and let's get this party started. All right, so let's jump in and put in some of the blocks of color. I had been working on that other painting, so I have a little bit of paint on my palette already. What I would like to do, I think, is go and so I see a block of color right here, this kind of bluish gray, and it's the same color over his nose and here. These are all the same rough colors, and if you look over here, it's more difficult for you all to see because I don't have that on your screen, but over here we can see that value-wise, this block is basically all dark, right? This is the darkest area of the painting or the image is the shadow right here. So that's what we want. Here is where is going to be the greatest portion of shadow. So we want to lay some of these color blocks in. This is right in here is going to be the same gray. The lightest points value-wise are right here on his cheek, under his eye, a little bit here, and then here in the crest of his eye. And then there's some more mid-tone values. I don't know if that's the term, like out here where the light is reflected. So want to constantly keep that in mind and make sure that my colors match my values. So let's see. Let's put in this block over his eye, and see what we can do. I'm gonna mix, I think, a kind of grayish brown. So I'm taking some burnt umber that I already have on my palette. I'm gonna bring in some blue, which will cool down that, this ultramarine blue cools down the red in the brown, essentially. We just mix that in. It gives us, this is what I use, the combination I use to create black. I very rarely use an actual black. I'm going to need more. Where's my blue? Where's my blue? Ultramarine blue. All right. But, so you'll see over here, I had been using that color earlier, and that's the same color, even though I was using it on a rock face and the water. I want to create that same color. So I'm doing that, and then we're going to do some white to lighten up the tone. Very quickly, the white lightens that. See how light that suddenly, it looks more brown to you all, but I have that bad orange lighting over me. But this is actually a grayish color. So I think it's about the right color. Maybe a little bit darker. Maybe I lightened it up too much. Okay. How'd everybody's week go? You have a good week? I hope. I had the fortunate but unpleasant experience of having my nose jabbed this morning for a COVID test out of an abundance of caution. I've not had symptoms or been ill, but I am not willing to risk my students' health. So I went this morning and got poked in the nose. It's unpleasant, but it's not as painful as, of course, maybe I just had somebody who was good at what she did. It's not as painful as I expected, but and it was very quick, very quick. She was really quick, in and out, literally. It's an awful expression, but it was. So hopefully we'll get those results. Should be within 24, 48 hours. All right. So let's go and start just putting in, actually, I think I want to pre-treat this color. So I did the gray, and you can see it kind of, if I hold it up close, you can see, maybe so this part is kind of greenish, and that's the gray. I'm bringing in some of this yellow ochre, to pre-treat the gray, since he's obviously, and I think that's a little dark, so I'm going to actually bring in some white, lighten that up. What I'm trying to do at this stage is just block in kind of the values where I see the value changes. So right over his eye is there. Under his eye, want to the same basically here across the crest of his nose. Ah, Daniel, that's so wonderful. I'm so glad she was able to find a place to get it. Um, a lot of the pharmacies here have, one of the pharmacies just closed their list because they have 7,000 people waiting and don't have that many, they don't have that much vaccine. They get like a few hundred a week. And so, yeah, they're not taking any. I was supposed, as a teacher, I was supposed to get it this week, but they told us that they weren't gonna, it wasn't gonna happen, and it should be this coming week, but we still haven't heard anything, so I'm not sadly holding my breath. Um, but it's possible. Just until then, I'm being safe as possible, and protecting my students. But yeah, I'm so glad your mom was able to get that. That is a huge relief. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do almost immediately is bring in more of that yellow ochre. Oh, wow. So they test you every time you go to campus. That's wonderful. I mean, not wonderful the experience, but I'm glad they're testing so rigorously. We don't test on our campus, but we the students had to test, but we're residential, so they stay on campus the whole time, and so that helps hopefully prevent more exposure. Okay, notice I added more yellow ochre to this gray I already have. Remember what we said about the importance of creating or creating not uniformity but cohesion in a painting by using similar colors in order to mixing with what's on your palette in order to create cohesion. So I didn't go and mix a separate kind of yellow for his mane and all this stuff that's going on over here. Now, if we look at our values here, over here is our highest values, right? So let's create some, we'll bring in some of this. we'll just paint. Basically, we're covering the canvas, getting some undertones in. Then we'll come and put actual highlights and lowlights on top of that. So. Bring a little bit of this in. And we just keep, essentially, this is what's going on in my head. We keep adjusting this until it feels like the values are right. Suzanne Wiegert, welcome. I am so glad to see you. It's been forever. Thanks for popping on. Thanks so much. I miss you so much. Once we get this pandemic controlled, we got to figure out a way to reconnect. Oh, that's so awesome. I'm so glad you enjoy it. It means a lot. Okay. I want to come in right around this eye. Hola, Jorge. Good to see you. I miss you. Hope you're doing well. This looks like such a mess, y'all, doesn't it? But I kind of feel. Remember when we first started this, those of you that were at the beginning, and I said I'm not looking forward to the day, or I kind of am looking forward to the day, but also dreading the day when I kind of know what I'm doing? Yeah. More and more of those moments are happening where it's like, oh, I kind of know what I'm doing, I think. Of course, then I think I do, and I don't have a clue. So it's easy to stay humble, but yeah, more and more that is happening. All right. Now I'm glancing back over here. I'm looking a little bit back and forth to see where I need to put this lighter color. Looking at my yeah, there've been a few times that I feel like I've messed up a color choice. Um, some of you who remember the holiday one we did that was really messy. The background was like this maroon color and it was awful. And then we worked on it and it ended up being okay. It still wasn't, I still would have chosen a different color, but if I hadn't made that mistake, I never would have known that it looked, because it was a maroon background with kind of holly berries or holly type berries, hollyberry, holly type berries over the top. And yeah, it just, I thought it wasn't going to work, and it did. So um, yeah, there are often times where I will, especially mixing a color, where I'll create a color and not think it's the right color, or put it on the canvas and then I'm like, oh, that actually works, or it works for another part of the painting, and I'm like, oh, that's how this, like this color, I started mixing it and then I was like, oh, I like it better over here, and it actually is the color that's on there. So yeah, sometimes those happy, as Bob Ross would say, those happy little accidents do happen. So I want to go in here. Ooh, that's really red. Doesn't look as red on my, let's tone that down quite some bit. Really red. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I should have known, because add any burnt sienna in it, just... Okay, there's a little better, isn't it? We'll bring in some of those colors. Here's the deal, y'all, with any sort of painting, but if you take the time and spend the time to get the values correct, you often, it just it just sets you up. You take very so much less time than after the words. Like, it takes a lot of time up front, and it seems like the painting's never gonna look right. It's never gonna look like what it should, but all of a sudden it comes together and it's like, oh wow, yeah, there it is. And so that's that's what I'm doing with this one, is really trying to look at the values. So I'll spill a little tea for y'all, a little secret, not secret, but I have been getting more and more comments over the last few weeks and months. People mostly kind of just in passing and joking, asking about commissions and asking for commissions, which is, I was talking about earlier about putting your art out there. Um, that is uncomfortable for me just because I still feel like I'm new and I don't, like, there's so much still to learn. But at the same time, I know that's the process. Like, you put yourself out there and, like, that's how it works. And so I'm actually, in the next probably 6 to 12 months, you will you all will be the first to know. I imagine at some point I'm going to get a commission and somebody's going to have me paint something. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun. I'm a little nervous, but it will work, right? We'll get it. Okay. Ooh, that's a pretty color. Let me see if I need a little more. Lighten it a little. So I'm going to try to put in his eyes, at least the basic, again, get the basic values, I'm hoping. Ooh, I took it too dark, but that might work. The light is really shining in his eye. And that's going to be a major component of the success or failure of this painting is the eye. So I want to get it as right as possible. Oof. Absolutely, Daniel. You're right. Yes. What I am, honestly, I am not intimidated by the money factor because it's not about making the money, but it's just more like it's still hard for me to believe that in 6 months, like, you get to the point where it's good enough where somebody's like, but isn't that all art? That's, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So does somebody value it? And if I teach entrepreneurship, so if the market values it, the market values it. Um, and I have to kind of live my own advice to my students. So yeah, what I did at Christmas that was really fortuitous is somebody asked me to donate some for a charity auction, and so that was nice because I was able to donate it and just let go of the outcome. Like, it didn't really matter how well it did. I mean, I wanted it to do as well as possible for the organization because it was a good organization, but I didn't, it wasn't like I felt judged or like somebody was judging because they knew it was mostly a donation to the organization. And so I may do more of that type of thing because I want to do that eventually anyway. Like if I ever get to a point where I'm significantly good, where I can, where people will pay money for my paintings, I want to give a lot. I want to give money, or anything I do. Like I want to give money away. I I enjoy giving money away. I enjoy using money to help people and organizations succeed. So that's that's the plan. Stan, or in this case, Daniel. Okay. Oh, I like this. So let me go in. I like this color, so I'm gonna take it. Back to Suzanne, to your question. Um, so I like this color I had here, so I'm gonna go down here and use it for his, I don't know what it's called, his overbite jowls. These are a little more shaded. Okay, good deal. I kind of like this. I actually want to, I think, do, Dude, I haven't named the lion. What do y'all want to name him? I haven't. No. What is a good name for him? Something that's not Leo or Leon or Leonardo, or let's not do alliteration. Tiger King. Yes. Tiger King the lion. Okay, I appreciate the sense of humor. Absolutely. Absolutely. The other advantage of doing this work kind of rather piecemeal is that get to you get a rich undertone of colors that add, I've used that term values a lot tonight, but that really add some, they add value and add depth and richness to the painting. So but all of a sudden, can you all see this starting to emerge? Just by putting the right values on the canvas, all of a sudden he's sort of recognizable. And we haven't put any features on other than the eyes, and sort of, I mean, that's not even the tip of his nose is down here. So I haven't really put any, we haven't put any real, isn't that amazing? That's the cool, this is what I love about painting. This moment when you start to like realize like, and I'm not, I mean, I hate to say it, but like technically, like I'm not that good. I'm good, like I appreciate what I can do, but like I'm not unique, I'm not special in that regard. Like I'm not particularly, I'm not a artistic genius at all. But you learn, like you learn these things, and all of a sudden MGM Pictures. Yeah, he is kind of the MGM emblem, I guess. I appreciate it, Chase. Thank you so much. Okay. One thing I want to do before I get too much further is I want to cover, I think I want to finish out the background, and so I want to take, this will almost, like, he'll just disappear. I really want him like disappear into the shadow over here. So I'm going to take brown, that dark brown and blue. Let's see, where's my blue? I keep putting it back. I should just leave it out here because I'm using more. Who would have thought a picture of a lion that most people think of the dominant color, if you ask somebody of a lion, people would say yellow, probably. But here I am using relatively huge amounts of that ultramarine blue. Why do you, I have a guess, I have an answer, but I want to ask you all, why do you think, look at how that almost looks black. Why do you all think that I am using large amounts of ultramarine blue, this dark blue? Why would you say that I am using that in a lion painting or a painting like this? Why is the ultramarine blue being used so much? Why do you think? Any guesses? Why is the ultramarine blue used so much? I actually am going to switch over to a different brush. So here's my guess about the blue. Obviously, I'm using a lot on the background because I'm making it dark. Sorry, I had to bring this down to my lap so I could do the bottom part of the canvas, since that is there. That's behind kind of that lip of my easel. So here's my hypothesis about the blue. By using the blue, because the yellows and well, in this case, I'm using almost entirely burnt sienna and burnt umber, or yellow ochre, I mean. The blue helps to tone those yellows and browns. If that makes sense. So, yes, ma'am. You said it much more succinctly and more articulately than I. Yes, the cool colors will make those warm colors pop. Hopefully, that's the plan at least. And they complement each other. So now I'm bringing more of the, over here, here's my dark background color. Now I'm bringing some yellow ochre here into it and mixing that, which is gives me almost that kind of yellow, green, blue, black, gray color, which will allow me to then hopefully, the goal is kind of a mid-tone so that I can avoid more of the hard edges as I merge into my background. At least this is my hypothesis or my plan, so that it softens. That we shall see if it does what I want it to do. So the main thing is there's a whole lot of actually, this is, I can go in here and I can start to put in, because his face disappears into the shadows over here. And I do want it to disappear. Eventually I'll put really dark here. It'll be even more dark. Just going to put a little bit of a sense of that over here. Y'all, I think this could end up being one of the best I've done so far. Could end up. I got distracted. Let me go back to the dark so I don't end up doing something crazy. Okay. I mean, it's crazy, but intentionally crazy. He has some shadows coming in here. Hey, HB, thanks for stopping in. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm hoping it turns out. I'm hoping it turns out. I think it will. This is the goal, at least. See, I messed up a little bit, at least in my head. So I'm just kind of, and that's the deal, y'all. You keep trying something. So this is random, but there's a guy I watch who's a teacher, an art teacher on YouTube, and I watched a lecture recently. He was talking about having his students draw, like doodle. He said he told them, we're not going to call it drawing anymore. We're going to call it doodling, because doodling is fun. That's what you do as a kid, and it's fun, and you know, like whenever you doodle, like if you're on the phone and you're talking to somebody and you're doodling, you don't typically, you're doodling with, you're doodling with a a pen, and you don't erase, and you just keep going over it until you get it the way you want. And he said he encouraged um, his students to, in one of the classes he does, it's like a multi-day thing, 5-day camp or something. They have to draw 500. They have to draw, doodle 100 a day, 100 somethings, 100 doodles, and by the end of the week they have 500 that they have done. I don't want to lose my form here. And so he was basically saying, like, they doodle and they then create these 500, basically 500 drawings. And I got to thinking, man, even if you did 10 a day, imagine how quick you would improve, how fast you would improve doing 10 drawings a day. I don't know what I'm going to do with that information, but it inspires me. See, I got a color I like, so I'm just, let me try this. Let me bring this over here. All of these experiments. Remember what I said weeks ago? This painting is just an experiment in a few things: color, value, shape, dimensions. It's just experimenting with a few different things. Literally, that's what it is. And you keep playing until you get it right, or until it's as good as you want it. I think the more you get, the more you play, of course, the better you get at it. And does anybody remember when I first started and I couldn't paint clouds and I was so frustrated? Oh, maybe that wasn't even on. I don't even know if I was live streaming back then. But that was one of the frustrations. Was clouds and blending colors, and now that's almost, this isn't a cloud, but that's almost all I'm doing right now is blending color. All right, we're an hour in, well, about 40 minutes, because I didn't start till 45 minutes. I didn't start until I quit talking. I philosophized a bunch at the beginning, didn't I? Da, da, da. I went to the paint store and got some paints I needed. Not the paint store, but the craft store. And while I was there, I was like, oh, I should get some ultramarine blue, because I just bought it, but I use it so much that's, I'm realizing, it's going to be a staple in my palette. And I should have bought it. I was like, oh no, I have a new tube, not realizing I'd use a ridiculous amount of it tonight. But that's all right. Makes me happy. Okay, I'm going back in again. My acrylics dry so quick that I can go in and do additional layers because I kind of want to give it a pseudo, this background, I want it to kind of look as if it's almost like an oil. Like I want you, like if you get up close on it, I want you to see the brush strokes and the texture of the, different, the different layers. So that's the goal I'm going for. Plus these canvases soak up the paint, even though they're pre-treated and pre-gessoed. So you'd really, especially if you have a dark background, you really want it to stand out. Or not stand out, but cover. Really want it to cover. This is actually a really fun painting. So glad y'all joined me. I appreciate you popping in and saying hi and hanging out with me. It's a fun one to do. It's definitely become fun. Oops. Put way too much white into. Darken it down. It's ridiculous. I put so much white. Look how light this got. Don't need it. Whoops. Need to darken it up. Darken, darken, darken. Now I'm just mixing everything that's on this end of the palette in so that it darkens as much as possible. I don't know if that's oh well, that's interesting. It's more of a reddish brown color. Ooh, that's way too blue. Oh, I think I've come to the end of my one burnt umber. It's a good thing I went and got some more. Ooh. Okay. Using this color just to soften these edges between the background and the subject so that I can, because I pretty much got the background where I want it, but I don't want sharp edges. So I'm getting close enough, getting the shadows and the close enough that they mix and blend enough, and then when we put in detail, it will all blend in more easily. Again, I hate to keep pounding this drum, but it's getting the values right now. I really think that's the deal. It's kind of scary how quickly how he is appearing out of nowhere. How does that even happen? It's like magic in some regard. Crazy magic. Crazy, crazy. It's fun though, for sure. All right, y'all. Here's where we are. Oops, can you see that? Oh, there we go. He's starting to emerge out of the shadows. Dun dun dun. Quite the dramatic, already kind of a dramatic. He looks dramatic. The colors, but I am happy right now with how the light and the dark and how he's hiding in the shadows and how that will come out. So, you know what time it is. Look at my water. So I am going to pause just a second and put you all on mute, and I will be right back. I'm going to wash this water out, and I will be back. There's your GIF. All right. Clean wawa, clean brush. Woohoo! Yes, yeah. Watching you paint as Tyler Channel search so he lands on PBS Bob Ross painting. That's awesome. Well, Bob Ross had a few years of experience on me, but that is very fun. Thank you, Lola. I appreciate, as always, the encouragement. I am feeling myself right now. I'm a little pleased with how this is coming out. So let's keep that ball rolling and see if we can start to create some, you know, if we can start to really make this work. So, trying to figure out, I think the next thing really is to start to perhaps go into the eyes and the nose and really start to see if I can create some of this um, detail to really make the eyes, because if I can get the eyes right, a lot of the rest, that's the whole focal point of the painting. That's what I want people to like, kind of, that's the, I've heard people talk about the um, across the room, not technique, but um, like when something draws you, like you see it from across the room and you have to go over and look at it. That's what I want to, the eyes are the thing that I want to people to draw people in. So if I can get the eyes right, I think I can get some of this other stuff right. So that's the goal. The goal. So let's do this. I have to get as dark as possible because it's almost a black. Like there's a gray around them, but then there's black, like really dark. So this is where it's a little nerve-wracking because it is essentially drawing and you're making very, up until now, it's been just putting in blocks of color, but now we're really starting to put in specific shapes. So that's where it gets nerve-wracking for me as an artist, because it's like those old, everybody's self-doubts, right? What if it, what if I mess this up? uh, I'm using an almost dry brush. There's very little paint in here, and I'm just putting in, oh, that's not right. I'm putting in where I see shadows across his left side of his face to start to hopefully, I'm not paying attention to the form of his face, even though I said it's like drawing. I'm trusting the process that if I put the texture, really it's not shadows in this case, it's the texture of the fur. If I put that in, he will emerge with me. So we shall see if I'm right. I should have, when I paused to do my water, I should have taken a picture. Maybe I will pause right here and do that. I should have paused to said I was going to pause and then I'm not, huh? Okay, I'm going to turn y'all to my other camera. So I've done this before, but that way I can, let me take a picture of where we are in the process. Cool. Cool, cool. And turn my camera back. Now bring you back here. Oops, oops. All right. I gotta set this up again. There. Oops. Okay. Isn't this fun, y'all? Well, I know you're just watching, but it's fun for me. Okay. I'm sort of happy with this eye, at least for now. Want to, while I have this mixed, I want to take the same paint, put some suggestions of creases or shadows in his forehead. And also in his mane. Give the suggestion of an ear over there. Okay. Now, again, we're going back. We're going to come in here. If my nerves don't get the better of me. Start right there. We come down. I'm using an almost empty brush because his eye is in shadow over here. There's just that very little suggestion of ooh, it looks really cool on the screen. It looks cooler on the screen than it looks on my on my on my canvas right now, but I will take it. I think I really want to recess him into these shadows. I want this even more than it is. Like, I almost don't even want any. I wonder if I can do it. Like, I almost don't want any his almost don't want his facial features to appear much over here at all. I really want the eye to just be sucked over to that side of the canvas. Yes, good suggestion, Lola. As always, you're my guardian art angel. Gosh, it's shocking to me how crazy this looks. Okay, let me step back. Sorry for the jostle, y'all. Okay. Yeah. Okay, when I step back, look at, I'm going to move y'all a little more direct on so you can kind of see hopefully what I'm seeing a little more directly. So notice how this looks really good. like bringing the shadow further up and obstructing or just making this all disappear, I think is a good choice. Because it looks like, even without any pupils in his eyes or without any detail in the eyes, he's already looking right at you or right at the viewer. So, yeah, I like that. Um, we just have to keep working this until all the shapes are correct and all the detail is correct. So let's keep doing that. We have about 15 minutes left. This will, of course, be one probably that I'll have to work on outside of the live stream to do some more work, but we'll see how much we can get done tonight yet in these 15 minutes. Again, remember we spent so much time at the beginning laying in the values, and remember I told you that it would pay dividends. I think it really is. Now, let's keep working on these eyeballs. See if we can I want to darken. Want to create more precision on this eye. Oops. Okay, now it's starting to get away from me. The You know what, Lola? I didn't say it out loud, but I thought it a few minutes ago. Not a famous wildlife painter, but I am a little surprised at how much I'm enjoying doing this more than or as much or more than the live or the landscapes I used to do. Because my goodness, like I mean, I love my landscapes, but like there's just something about like this. It's shocking to me. Like, but you do something new, you try something new, and it takes off. Or you expose skills you didn't know you have, or a natural ability you didn't know you have. Like, honestly, like I can semi objectively look at this. Hey there, Fox. Thank you. Yeah, I know it's pretty late where you are, isn't it? Like midnight, 1 o'clock. I appreciate you stopping in. Much appreciated, sir. Much appreciated. Anyway, Lola, we will see. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I tried to snoop around your Twitch, and then I think that's where I found your Instagram. So now connected there. So that's awesome. And to keep an eye on your art adventures as well. Absolutely. My pleasure. I always enjoy meeting new people, and I'm grateful that you stopped in those couple weeks ago. And oop, that's not going to work. Yes, on your recommendation, I did find it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And yeah, thanks for stopping by. Have a great evening. If you're headed to bed, sleep well. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you. Take care. Lola, jumping back to your conversation, I think it'll be interesting. It's going to be interesting to me to see how my interest and skill and ability develops in the next 6 months to a year. It's shocking to me when I really step back and look at what like I did, even 6 months ago. It's like really shocking to me, like how different it is, and how like I can see the growth that I've experienced. And so like that's I'm interested to see how that continues. And if I've grown this far in 6 months, like my goodness, what is possible, you know, in the next few years. Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I think that's on my. I really wasn't planning to paint wildlife tonight, but when I started looking for through my kind of queue of references, I just couldn't get away from. I have some also of some fox that I'm interested in doing some foxes, and so I really want to. I do want to explore some and test myself against some friends, like you said, some friends pets, because I think if you can get somebody's pet, it's one thing a lion, but like somebody's pet is so personal that if you can get that so that it's recognizable and they can say, oh, this is my you know tank, or whatever their pet, whoever their pet is, and it really brings them joy, like that is really a cool. If you can, I guess what I'm saying is if you can capture the personality of the pet, that's a big thing, right? If you can catch the personality of a pet, you really start to do something really cool. It feels like it. It feels like it. The thing is, I don't really know. I mean, the sad thing is, like, I don't have time to. I don't practice. Like, I don't paint outside of this. I mean, once a week, basically. Um, so I don't know fully like where that growth is coming from. I don't, other than just I'm very intentional when I do sit down to paint, and I occasionally, well, fairly semi regularly watch, you know, people painting on YouTube, and so I'm absorbing some of that because of kind of, oh, I don't like that. Maybe I'm absorbing some of that by osmosis. But it is rewarding to kind of, it's almost like one time I did an escape room. Have you ever done an escape room? And it's like when you figure out the code or the what it is that is that causes you to be successful in escaping the room. It's like really fulfilling, and that's kind of how I feel with this. Yes, I agree. As it's coming together, I'm going later tonight just because I'm kind of like I don't want to stop because everything's in a groove and it's going. So I want to kind of get to a natural stopping point before I quit. But I agree. I think this is absolutely probably far and away better than anything I've done so far. And it's weird because, yeah, I just don't know like what ended up inspiring this or how why it ended up being such a compelling, maybe the subject matter. Okay, I'm gonna go in for the pupil and the eye. Let's see if we can get this right. Oof. Oh, I think I need to step back and look at this. Oh, no, I don't think it's bad. Up, up close, you can see all the imperfections, but yeah. I think I want to take a little cad yellow. Oof. Thanks so much, Lola. Have a good night, and I will definitely post the finished product. All right, y'all. It has been 2 hours and 40 minutes. And I'm not done, but I'm sure you all are. If anybody's still watching, and anybody who watches this in the future, 3 hours is a long live stream. But this has been the most fun one I've done, and I am still gonna keep going because I'm having so much fun. So, yeah, if you're not following me on Instagram, you can do that at Stephen E. Rice. I usually post the progress photos for these things, um, and I'll post the final one there. If you are not subscribed on YouTube, please do so at Stephen Rice or on YouTube. If you search for me, you'll find me. Or if you're not watching there, definitely subscribe. I have these live streams scheduled out, I think, almost to April. Like I have 30 of them or something. There's a bunch of them. So you can set notifications for those. I'll be back 7 p.m. Central Time on Saturday, next Saturday, with a new subject, a new painting. And hopefully we'll have some more of this done. I'm hoping to be able to get some of the detail work done. I'm really, really pleased with where I am right now. I kind of impressed myself this evening. And so I think this may be one that I actually frame at some point. But I need to do some work, lighten up or warm up this side of the painting with some more kinds of reds and yellows. It needs to pop a little bit more. But oh, you can't see. You're off camera. So yeah, let me get rid of that. So I need to warm this up with some reds and yellows on this side. But I'm really pleased with how this turned out. It is exactly how I envisioned, as far as like him coming out of the shadows. And it really was a good exercise in the technique that the guy that I was watching, the teacher that I was watching, he said basically in every subject you want to do something with the light, draw people's eyes using light. And so that's something I'm going to be exploring in the future, no matter what subject I'm using, to try to figure out how I can turn the light into the to bring real interest to the subject, so that it's not just the right composition, but it's also using light and shadow to really create some interest. So I think definitely this is probably the best painting I've ever done of any type, and so pretty proud of it so far. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me this evening. I know, Mom and Dad, you're still on, so thank you for watching so long and so late. It's well, I guess it's only 8:43 your time, but it's been fun, and I'm looking forward to the next time. Everybody have a great night, and I will see you here, there, or on the interwebs. Take care. Have a good one.